I eventually stopped feeling angry. You know, you get married, you have kids, you stop feeling angry all the time. And I needed something to have lyrics about. And that's how I stumbled onto the Gundam lens.
Ghost Code Magazine welcomes in our friend Justin Pierrot, aka Stormland. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How about yourself? I hear you've had a big week.
I have had a big week. A lot of stuff going on in the world of Ghost Code. You are having a big week. Congratulations on the long-awaited release of your new record, The Human Cost. Congrats.
Thank you. It's been a very long release cycle. You always hear start early, get stuff out. And, I think maybe starting 3 months out was a little much for me. And I thank everybody for their patience and dealing with me being a pain in the butt while I shill this album.
I don't know. I think 3 months is a good lead up, especially for a DIY underground artist like yourself. Just for comparison, Sabaton surprise released an EP today on the back of a full length last year, and I'm not sure, or earlier this year, and they have more stuff in the works, like 2 more EPs they let slip that they're going to produce, and then a movie in January. So it's like, I don't always think these surprise releases work. They've worked against some major bands.
Yeah.
I think for a band like Sabaton that has like a relentless fan base that eats up everything they do, that might work for them. But I still kind of believe, I'll put my music marketing trucker hat on for a second and say that I actually really believe that the long lead time is useful and helpful to get people. There was a lot of good promo. I saw a lot of reviews fly by. You shared some. You did a very good job sharing them. Even the not flattering ones you still shared, which I thought was very good of you. So, I don't often talk to artists on the day their album is out. So this is a treat for me. Thank you. And, congrats to you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, most of the response has been pretty good, shockingly good, actually. I'm not used to such good reviews. And, the one bad review, it happens. Not everybody's going to like everything. I looked at the rest of the reviews from that site and, they have a style they like and I'm not it. So it's fine. It stings, but it's fine.
Yeah, hey, bad reviews or marginal, let's call mediocre and marginal reviews, they all serve a purpose. At least your name is getting out there. That's a few more people who didn't like the band and maybe the writer wasn't a good match for the music. And who knows? Also, there's a lot of people out there, I'm going to imitate them now, they're doing the back of the room thing, except over their keyboard is right under them. So, like, the arms folded except mentally. So you can't, you're not always going to be able to reach those folks.
For sure.
I think this record's killer. I love death metal. I love all the things. Giant robots and anime and manga. So we're going to talk about all the things. First things first. If this was a comic book origin story of Stormland, and I'm imagining an awesome, beautifully drawn cover with a ginormous killer robot with guns and shit, tell us about how you got started.
Honestly, I've always loved music. I grew up listening to rock and roll thanks to my parents, stuff like The Doors, Supertramp, Jimi Hendrix, Fleetwood Mac. When I was just a little guy, about 7 or 8 years old, an older neighbor that I went to Taekwondo with, he introduced me to Anthrax, and that's pretty much started the lifelong love of metal from there. And just time wore on. I always wanted to play guitar. For my 15th birthday, my parents got me a 6-string guitar, and 16th birthday, and I pretty much immediately tuned it down and started trying to learn Fear Factory. Just from there, I kept searching out progressively heavier music. I did a stint as a teenager doing interviews and some reviews for a heavy metal site called antimtv.com. I interviewed Evan from Biohazard September 10th, 2001. Yeah, And that one always sticks with me because the worst thing that happened to him that day was his truck got rear-ended and he had to postpone the interview. And, I was just punk ass kid and that was still cool. And then the next day I wake up, I come down the stairs from my room. My mom's telling me about what's going on in New York. And it's just like, weird times, strange times, sad times. Not much else you can say except I can't watch that footage at all. But after that, I just started learning to play guitar. I got into death metal. I really went through a really big Dismember phase for a while, and that's what the initial sound was trying to capture. Dismember, At the Gates, Cataclysm. As I started learning and better. And then eventually in my 20s, I went to school, got an audio engineering degree, learned to record myself, and eventually started writing demos. I tried to have a band for a little bit, but it didn't work out. I'm just not the right personality for trying to keep a band together. I'm a little too sensitive, so that doesn't always help. Eventually, I moved out to the Metro Vancouver region and just worked and played music, and eventually got better. Got my 8-string a couple of years ago, and after that, that's how we got to the human cost. I suppose I should talk about the older demos. Yeah, it wasn't always the best politically, and I eventually stopped feeling angry. You know, you get married, you have kids, you stop feeling angry all the time. And I needed something to have lyrics about, and that's how I stumbled onto the Gundam lens.
Nice. A lot of that makes sense when I listen to this record and your other music. Fear Factory, Dismember, 8-string guitar is very good. And that right hand, which is, rock solid, man. Talk a little bit about Gundam and how you merge these two worlds of death metal and Gundam for those that don't know what it is.
All right. So Mobile Suit Gundam is 42, almost 43-year-old franchise at this point. Started in 1979. Actually, yeah, it is 43. Started in 1979 with the series airing on Japanese TV, created by a guy named Yoshiyuki Tomino. He's an infamous contrarian grump, but he's made some pretty good anime in his day. It focuses on a young crew who are mostly thrust into a war, mostly civilians, couple of young officers thrust into a war, including one teenage boy who inadvertently ends up piloting a experimental super weapon. And various series after that, some within that original continuity expand on it. There's something called new types, which is basically people who, through living in space, their brains have started to evolve so that they can communicate beyond misconception. So, mind to mind kind of stuff, words not getting in the way so much. And through the use of brain computer interfaces, EEGs and all that, they can also use that to control devices. Like basically using their brains to control drones. And there's militaries doing what they do. They on both sides, they try and force that evolution onto people. That created something within the series called cyber new types. And they're pretty much just poor war orphans who got used up, warped, and twisted. And you can see parallels between that and what the US government did with the Tuskegee Airmen, for example, and all kinds of horrific government overstep. There's other series, other continuity, stuff that deals with eugenics, stuff that deals with terrorism, stuff that deals with solving control of the world through epic martial arts battles and giant robots. And there's a new series coming up starting actually on October 2nd called Gundam the Witch from Mercury. The first show with a female lead protagonist, lead pilot, and looks to be examining a little different take, a spaceborne corporatocracy trying to keep control of space and choking off certain developments from the Earth. And that's what I can glean from it. If you want to watch the prologue for it, it's up on the Gundam.info YouTube channel for free. It's subtitled, and if you're a parent, it will punch you in the gut repeatedly.
Spaceborne corporatocracies are tight. We love all that stuff. That sounds, amazing. How much awesomeness has Japan given the world with manga and anime and then figures and actual robots and actual models and things and games and so many applications over the decades. And man, it's amazing. I don't know of any other band that has, I may be wrong, but I don't know of any other band that's ever done this. A lot of bands that have anime concept albums that have anime embedded into their culture and their ethos as a band, but I've never heard of any band do it quite the way you have.
Well, thank you. I think Gridlink, they were very much into the Neon Genesis Evangelion thing, and there are bands doing it with the Bloodborne, Soulsborne games, but I think I'm the only one really focusing on mecha anime, much to the consternation of the cosmic horror death metal aficionados.
And there's a lot of them now.
Yeah.
I blame Blood Incantation personally.
Yeah.
One band does it, everybody wants to do it. But
Yes.
what are you going to do? So, yeah, man, you've carved a very unique path. You put out these, sort of one-man band solo albums. But on this album, you have some very exciting guests. I wanted to talk about the guests, what they did, and how you approached them to work with you.
Well, for Lita Page from the Hallowed Catharsis, Jisei, and Sissy XO, I got in touch with it. I actually originally got in touch with it shortly after it started its transition. Lita uses its pronouns, and I know for some people it can take getting used to, but we got to respect that. It's not necessarily about us; it's about respecting others. And anyways, I had an idea. I wanted it to guest on a track, and I thought with Test Subject, that would be best for the dual vocal approach, because that's supposed to represent an experiment in progress, like like the log of an experiment. I portray the test subject, and Lita portrays the lead researcher. And if you've seen the lyrics for it, it gets kind of clinical. It's not quite a Legion level science, but it's dark, and it's true to the darker aspects of Gundam and military experimentation on humans without consent in general. And then, of course, Ross Sewage. Well, we all love Ross. He's a sweetheart, and I just hit him up through Twitter. It's like, hey man, what's your rate for doing guest vocals? He said nothing, as long as it's not about any sketchy subject matter. I was like, great, here's the lyrics. I need someone who can do the Lolos, and I can't think of anybody better than you. And that's where he is on the chorus of Rebuilt for Your Whims.
So good. And Ross, we're going to remember this time that we lived in, the time of Ross Sewage. He is incredible. Yes. He's a great ambassador for death metal and all the right things in the world, correct things in the world, good things in the world. I know, and it's not very wholesome. It's too wholesome for the guy from Exhumed and a bunch of other killer bands, but he really is too good to be true for the scene.
Death metal's bon vivant to Uncle.
Exact. And I see him around, facts. I see him around the Bay Area. I see him in Oakland. I'm going to see Ludacra in their final Bay Area show probably.
Nice.
In November. I already got tickets. So that was one of those, like, I have to support this. I'm not going to ask to get put on or anything. Or cover, I'm going to still, we're going to cover it. But I was like, no, I got to support. And it's fun to go to a show. I don't have to go too far. So it's like 10 minutes from my house. It's perfect.
I'm actually going to go see the Hallowed Catharsis tomorrow night.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yes, keep an eye out for their third album. I think they're hoping for next year for that.
Nice. I will connect with you offline, and we will link everything in the description.
Yes.
Including resources and all these things in the interview description. So everybody will be able to follow you and support. So the album is out. You put out an awesome video of you actually reacting to your own song, which I thought was a novel and cool, fun approach. What's the ceiling for this band? Can you put together videos? Do you have dreams of doing some kind of long form video or anime thing someday? Like, what's the ceiling for Stormland?
The ceilings is, I don't know if I have a ceiling, but only there's the one man death metal band ceiling. But I'd love to work with Bandai Sunrise Namco, get a song somewhere in the background of a future Gundam series. Hopefully that'll happen as opposed to a cease and desist. But we'll see. I mean, there's a series of original net animations that got put together and combined into a pair of movies called Gundam Thunderbolt, and the focus on that is free jazz. There's a Adrenaline Junkie pilot, which kind of inspired the song Lethal Ballet, and he goes out, he listens to jazz recordings from a pirate radio station as he goes on his missions, and it creates a very novel soundtrack. And I'd love to do something like that with Bandai.
Amazing. Personally, there's a neighbor of yours in that town that I would love to see you work with someday. You might have heard of him. His name is Devin Townsend. I'm not sure. He's kind of underground. Not too many people know about him, but
I would love to. And I would love to meet him. He's definitely one of the people who initially inspired me to just go it alone. And if it ever works out that he and I get to meet, I will shake his hand. I will buy him an herbal tea or whatever it is he's drinking now, and just say thank you.
Yeah, I don't even think he will do a kombucha. I think he's all straight up herbal, actual tea leaves from a shop and a little medicine ball and
Yeah.
the little tea ball. I don't think he's doing fake tea, and I don't think he's doing anything too woo woo. But Devi's great. I got to meet Devi once in person. I've interviewed him a few times, and I'm hoping to talk to him again soon for his new record. But yeah, I just think of him. I think of your musicality. I think of your style and your talent, and on occasions when he doesn't need to do a thing by himself, he does fancy with working with a lot of people. So that's my
Yeah.
dream for you, is that you will get to meet and maybe work with Devin Townsend. I would
Well,
love to see
thank
it.
you. If you can always put in a good word for me if you ever talk. You can
I
give him a
will.
Bandcamp code or
I
something.
will. I will do this. This might happen very soon. You don't
Yeah.
know. Otherwise, man, yeah. What else? Obviously, you have this record and family life and work, and what do you do otherwise to entertain yourselves when you're not
Uh,
shredding? I'm sure you're playing all the time.
I do play guitar. And one of the things about living on the graveyard shift is on my nights off, I don't necessarily have a lot to do. So I'll build and paint Gundam models. I held this one up earlier. This is what I hand painted. So this is what I painted. The original design of the suit apparently came from business suits. The mecha designer was into fashion as well. And so I went with the kind of a business suit design, right down to the gray hair on top of the head. And it's fun to build and paint these models. And there's some for lower skill levels. I'll build them with my kids. And then there's the big giant ones, like in my promo picture. That's a mega size one that was about $150, and it's up to my knee. And then if you want to get even more complex kits with metal parts, that can go up into the hundreds of dollars. And then if you want to paint, you get an airbrush, you get the paints, you can put hours into it. It's a fun hobby, and I recommend it. Bondi kits are great. They snap together. The instructions are like IKEA, so you don't need to read Japanese.
I was gonna ask. I was like, oh no, that would be a thing. You need Nick. You need Nick from the Glacial Musical
Yes.
Podcast to help you with your Japanese, then, because yeah, that's an area I'm no help in.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that sounds awesome, and I really dig this record. And I'm glad that for the most part, other people are digging it too. We had a pretty positive review of it by our writer Andrew Reish, and he did a fantastic job. He got it.
Yeah.
His opening line was like, "Never been much into Gundam, but Transformers is my whole life," and it doesn't
Yeah.
seem like a big leap from one to the other. So I like that he was able to make that, cross that bridge there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like, I'd say, if anything, it's like the subject is not turning people off. I
Yeah.
don't think. I think there's nobody who's like, I don't understand this. Like, nobody's
Yeah.
that dumb. Death metal has all kinds of dumb topics, and like,
Yeah.
can you just do like, I mean, yeah, no, songs about gore and murder and serial killers are fun, but like, you can sing about other stuff, scream about other stuff.
Yeah. And that's the big thing. I mean, I think I'm using Gundam as a lens. This album in the grand scheme of things, it's about the human cost of war. What it does to the soldiers, what it does to the people caught in it, and just what it does to the people around it. And I think it's a good topic, and I enjoyed making it, and it lets me flex my storytelling muscles a little bit. I always dream of being a kind of King Diamond for death metal figure, and I had the concept EP before Incident Report that literally was an incident report that Fallon Bowman guested on. And if I ever get to work with her again, I really would love to. She's fantastic. Go listen to her project Amphibious Assault if you like electronic IDM, late 90s, early aughts V&V Nation kind of stuff. But
Fallon
yeah,
is great. Yeah, she's great. I met her once back in the day, and I'm really glad Kitty is back. I kind of hope that next year they'll do a run or something. I don't know if some new music is too far fetched, because they all kind of have their own things going on, but I would love a tour. Yeah, that's amazing, man. That's amazing. Just in general, all the best on this release. I hope it goes and gets as far as you hoped it will, and I hope to hear more stuff from you in the future. And who knows? The sky's the limit for this. I'm really glad we got to meet, and glad we got to chat today.
For sure. And I can say there is another EP's worth of material in the can. It's mixed, it's mastered. It's stuff that just it's still solid material. It just didn't quite fit thematically in with the rest of the album. And I'm sure I'll get that out at some point next year.
All right. We'll be looking forward to it. Good to know. Good to know. All right, Justin from Stormland, man. Thanks for hanging out with Ghost Cult. Thanks for the support, and we'll catch you soon online in the tweets in the Twitter
Thank
sphere.
you. Thank you. Keep up the good work, Keefe. You're doing killer with Ghost Cult, and I appreciate the coverage so much. Thank you.